32 months we've been away, but it's great to be back. The Fanatec GT World Challenge Asia, powered by AWS. The last round of 2019, we were building to great things in 2020, and the global pandemic has taken care of the last 2 years. But 32 months since that last round of 2019 at Shanghai, 37 months since we were last here to kick off the 2019 series. We are delighted to be going racing through this year. We're kicking off at Sepang in the heat and the humidity there. You can see it, 21st, 22nd May. First race this afternoon, second tomorrow. Then a 4-race series in Japan with its own series within a series, if you like. The Japan Cup at Suzuka in July, followed the weekend after by Fuji International Speedway. Sportsland SHOGO in the tail end of August, and at the end of September, Okayama International Circuit. And then new ground is broken. Mandalika International Circuit in Indonesia will bring the 2022 Fanatec GT Series to a close. That opened last year for motorbike racing and is a big hit. Looking forward very much to the cars going there. We're here at Sepang, a circuit that's always been great, provided brilliant racing for GT. Fanatec GT, and expect the same this weekend. Now, weather you can pretty much predict. It's always going to be around the mid-30s, low to mid-30s. Well, so there we are. Track temperature 35 degrees, air temperature nearly 31 degrees. That's pretty much standard. Of course, rain could be just around the corner, and with humidity of 80%, you can see that is very much a possibility. With the sky certainly has a build-up of clouds over those massive, iconic grandstands here at the Sepang International Circuit. It is great to be back. It's always provided brilliant racing. The format of the 15-turn circuit is just fabulous. From the very first turn, classic Herman Tilke. I still think it's the circuit architect's very best opening corner sequence, and you can see how as the cars speed through, it's wide on the entry to turn 1. The corner keeps on folding back on itself, and then immediately into a dip, a little bit of compression, and then the cars move through turn 2, and then immediately arcing through turn 3. And in fact, the first car going up towards turn 4, the sharp right-hander. The rise of a little crest is a new one for this year. For us, it's the YOKOMIZO Racing Ferrari. Great to have a Ferrari in the mix. We have 8 cars here this weekend. We had hoped for double figures, but as soon as the cars go to Japan, the field is going to be just leaping up to 24 cars next time out in the opening Japanese round at Suzuka. But here it's all GT3. There will certainly in Suzuka be 7 GT4, the less powerful cars that bolster the grid and have been building through the years in Fanatec GT. And also one from the GTC class will be racing. That'll be a Lamborghini Huracan Super Trofeo with the Thai racer Sutiluk Buncharo in. But here we have 8 cars from the top class, GT3 class. So we're sort of light on numbers, if you will, but it's a start. And the whole point is to get out there and get racing again. And but it's absolutely cars from the top draw. I mean, look, for example, 2 cars entered with the KFC livery, looking fantastic. The big AMG swash on the bonnet, and that's 888 Race Engineering, and entered by 888 JMR. And last time we went racing, we had 1 Prince. This time we have 2, both Prince Jeffrey Ibrahim. That will be Prince Abu Bakr Ibrahim and his older brother Jeffrey Ibrahim, who put up some great performances in 2019, and we'll be hearing from them tomorrow. But right now they're going out. They've had some good track time already on the Friday, but this is a 15-minute qualifying session, and the drivers in this session will define the grid for this afternoon's race. The broadcast for that will start at 3 o'clock, and the racing will kick off for 1 hour with a driver change somewhere around mid-distance. That will be at 3:15 local time. So the drivers have got the feel of the cars, and it's just great to be back out on a circuit for a lot of these drivers. And now they've got the feel for the circuit. They're just gauging what their tyres are going to offer for them through the course of this very qualifying session. So the first car that should set a flying lap will be that fabulous looking aquamarine yellow and dark blue Ferrari from the Japanese YOKOMIZO Racing team. It does look great. It's great to see a Ferrari not just in red. I do like a change of colour there. Don't go with the obvious. And that is NAOKI YOKOMIZO. His teammate is SHOGO MITSUYAMA. We'll get to see him in the second session. He'll be going out to set his time to see where he can put his Ferrari on the grid for tomorrow's race. That'll be a slightly different time of the day. That'll be just around midday that we go racing tomorrow, so we'll see, is it going to be hotter today or tomorrow? But either way, they shouldn't struggle to get heat into their tyres. That said, just looking at YOKOMIZO, they're getting the tail of the Ferrari kicking out a little bit. The car wasn't quite how he wanted it as he turned through turn 6, where it kinks into turn 7, and this is turn 8, where the track starts to double back on itself. and then climbing. That's one of the great things here at Sepang. It's not all on the level, and just a small amount of gradient change makes all of the difference. Going back behind the grandstands, that's turn 12 right now, then almost immediately out of 12 you've got to start turning the other way, turning right, turn 13, and then hit the brakes hard. Here comes turn 14, and this is the one, a good exit from this. You've got the second longest straight of the circuit, the sort of the backside of the grandstands that overlook the start-finish straight. They've got their own set, and then up to the final corner where almost invariably they will be overtaking. Turn 15, and just still waiting for that first flying lap. And so far, in fact, through the first sector, the Ferrari is the fastest of all, not just the first in the line of 8 cars, but certainly laying the time down very quickly indeed. So let's see what the benchmark will be as NAOKI YOKOMIZO goes across the start-finish line. First flying lap on the board, 2 minutes 7.686. We saw faster yesterday, we saw a 2 minute 6 second lap, but that's a good benchmark. And for NAOKI YOKOMIZO, 41-year-old, nearly 42, coming up. He's been racing, he was Japanese Formula Toyota Championship long ago, it was 21 years ago, but since then it's all been GTs for him after doing Formula Nippon to finish that decade. But so many drivers turning to GT3, it is such a global formula. And Fanatec GT's got the Asian series, the Australian series, the American series, and in Europe in some ways it has 2 series. It has the Endurance series and the Sprint. They're combined as well, but 2 separate titles. So NAOKI YOKOMIZO at the top of the pile, and Jeffrey Ibrahim in car number 99. 99 and 888, 888 are the 2 cars entered by 888 JMR, and the Mercedes just became stronger and stronger through the course of 2018, 2019. You can see it's dusty offline, go an inch offline, and then suddenly you can see you could be getting yourself into all sorts of problems. And the trick here is to go out towards the edge of the circuit and not beyond. You're allowed 2 wheels, but if all 4 wheels go beyond the white line at the edge of the circuit, you will be reported to the stewards, and they will decide if that time is being removed for exceeding track limits. But at the moment, it's still that Ferrari leading by 1.7 seconds, and then it's the 2 Ibrahims. It's car 888, which is the younger him, that's Prince Abu Bakr Ibrahim, and then Abdul Rahman, known as Jeffrey Ibrahim, the one with the far more experience, is tucking in behind. They're about a second between the 2 of them. In fact, there's nothing of the sort. There's less than a tenth of a second between the 2 of them, and in fact, they've moved back to 3rd and 4th on the table because we now have car number 11 into the mix very much. One of the 2 EBM EARL BAMBER Motorsport Giga Racing Mercedes. This one is only for this round. Adrian De Silva at the wheel at the moment, and EARL BAMBER will take over. EARL's going to be very busy. He's getting on a plane as soon as he's finished here to go to the Nürburgring to complete in next weekend's 24 hours around the mighty Nordschleife circuit. At the moment, though, Adrian De Silva, his long time involvement in his career, moves into that 2nd place, just under half a second down. 0.456 per second, as you can see with the graphics on the top left, behind the Ferraris. So Ferrari setting the pace, and you know what's also setting the pace? It's the speed with which the clock counts down from 15 minutes in this qualifying session, and as we look at the clock now, almost half of it's gone. 7 minutes has got away from the drivers. They've all got to start picking up the pace, keep it clean, keep it tidy, put a good time on the board. Adrian De Silva, Malaysian racer, proud to be racing at home. Started off in Porsches just over a decade ago, and has had a great deal of fun competing all around the world since then. And then he turned to Ferraris, Asian GTs. But sort of one of the many drivers who's just watched this series, and it's great having him involved. So 2 minutes 7.686. I thought it was a good starting point, but I expected the others to start closing in, getting closer on time. One car I'm really looking for is car number 22. It's one of the Audis entered by the Team X-Works. That's Mark Lee's squad with Yasser Shahin, last year's Australian GT World Challenge champion, but a driver who took victory last weekend in the Bathurst 12 hours. So he's arrived here. Sorry, that was Kenny Harble who took victory last time. Sorry, confused myself there. Now this is a great looking car. 91, local entry here. It's David Punn at the wheel at the moment, so he's starting to pick up the pace. We've got a lot of drivers very close on times, from Setiawan Santoso in 3rd place down to David Punn in 6th. We're talking of about a quarter of a second between them. But the clock counts down further, but the lap times are starting to pick up, and that's still very, very competitive from from YOKOMIZO at the top of the table. Car number 27. He's put in his best lap, which we saw as his first fly. His second fly was only just a third of a second slower, so good consistency there. And the others would like that consistency and the speed that goes with it. All right, looking for changes. Are they about to come right now? David Punn stays in 6th overall. And as you can see, he's not improving with this lap. His middle sector is way off the pace. He's backed it off. Very slippery off the line at the moment. It's surprising. Fair bit of dust being kicked up. Right, 2 minutes 7.686. Is David Punn going to improve? Crosses the line? No, he's backed it right off. 209.785. Those intervals you saw were not compared to his own lap. That was compared to the fastest lap, which is still set by YOKOMIZO at the top of the table. NAOKI YOKOMIZO. Plenty of experience. Good to see. Right, AMAC Motorsport. Lamborghini. No, it isn't. They moved across. The Lamborghini served them really, really well. Andrew McPherson, who set up the team long ago, and Ben Porter, they were racing in the championship. They were the AM champions in 2019, but trying to see what life is like with a different car. And Andrew McPherson bringing out the tail of the field at the moment. He's 4 and a bit seconds down on the ultimate pace, which is still set by that Ferrari. A lot of the quicker times are coming from those further down the order, because Naoki YOKOMIZO probably reckons he's done enough. He's in the pits at the moment, the fastest driver in the pits. So it does leave the door open for the others with just under 5 minutes remaining in this session. Right, I think they've got their banker laps in. And I'll tell you what, the driver who was fastest of all through that final sector is second fastest overall. So just 0.182 of a second down now. Adrian De Silva is really starting to close in. He's in that number 11 EARL BAMBER Motorsport Porsche. So at the moment it's Ferrari from Porsche from Mercedes. Good mix of manufacturers in there, and a car that improved relatively recently was a 888 Mercedes, and that is the younger of the princes from Johor, His Royal Highness Prince Abu Bakr Ibrahim. He's just turned 21. He's going very well. He is now third fastest, just 1.1 seconds down on the ultimate pace, so he's closing in. Right, Andrew McPherson, how's he faring through that first sector? Well, he's improved. That's all you can ask. He's 4.7 seconds down overall. If he can carry on improving, he's got time. He doesn't expect to take pole. He's getting not to learn this circuit. He knows it very, very well indeed. He's getting to know the car. No longer a Lamborghini. All the things that have been automatic for him in the past handful of years. Now he has to think again. And in fact, you know what? For a driver, it's always good to be learning on the move. Oh, there's a challenge coming. The number 11 Porsche is getting faster and faster, because Adrian De Silva, fastest of everybody in the first sector of the lap, could be looking to improve. He's just a fifth of a second down, fifth of a second away from pole for this afternoon's race. He's about a third of the way around the lap, nearly halfway around the lap. Car number 11 on the move. He's at turn 13. He's about there. There he is, about to turn 14 to get onto that back straight. And when you've got a Le Mans winner as your teammate, you know things are pretty good indeed. And don't forget, this will be a two-driver race, as all the Fanatec GT shorter races are, the sprint races, with a driver change between 25 and 35 minutes into the 1 hour. Looks as though De Silva has backed it off a little bit. Maybe it's the foreshortening as he comes into that final corner. It's a shame, because that first sector was fastest of everyone. But maybe what you do is you cool your tyres down a little bit, then go all over again. And he's probably pacing it. Let's see what this lap time is when he comes through. His best is at 2 minutes 7.8. This does look a little bit slower. Yeah, 2 minutes 16.4. He really, really did slow that right down. But accelerating out of that final corner, turn 15 down the start-finish straight. Now, who's going to challenge? Younger of the Ibrahim's, Prince Abu Bakr, who's really, really impressing, sharing with Malaysian star Yazaman Jafar, who's been in and around this championship for a long time in his global travels. But at the moment, that's sitting third fastest overall, 1.099 seconds down on that really good early flyer, the first flyer set by Naoki YOKOMIZO. And that Ferrari from Yagibo Racing is still in the pit lane, because he doesn't have to worry. It doesn't look as though anyone else is going to challenge. But that said, of course, Adrian Henry De Silva is just 0.182 of a second in arrears. He's still out on the track. He had that slower lap. Now presumably he's picking up, waiting for him to go through the first of the three timing sectors, which is just before turn 7. 7 and 8, very, very close together. a fast right followed by a fast right, and if you get the first one wrong, of course, all your problems get magnified. So looking for the changes. David Punn improved last time around, but he's still just under 2 seconds down, 1.8 seconds down in 6th overall. And Yasser Shahin down, he's just over 2 seconds down. He improved the previous time. Right, Setiawan Santoso has suddenly got a move on. We haven't really seen the other of the EBM Giga Racing Porsches, and Setiawan showing that with Kiwi racer Reid Harker, but it's Setian at the wheel at the moment. He has now moved up to being 1.2 seconds down on the ultimate pace, so a good improvement there, which is Jeffrey Ibrahim back down the order just that little bit. So it's Ferrari from Porsche, Mercedes from Porsche, Mercedes, Audi, which is the David Punn car, Sam Shahin in his Audi, number 22, is in 7th, and the AMAC Motorsport Porsche, Andrew McPherson, 4.6 seconds down in the pits. 4 of the 8 cars in the pits at the moment, and the one you can see at the front of the queue is YOKOMIZO's car, driven really well, very, very positively, but then again, he's a silver rated driver and has years of experience, so he felt he got what he could out of the guy. Did the car that set the lap that set pole position, 2 minutes 7.686 seconds. We've got a red flag at the end of the pit lane at the moment. We've finished this session anyhow. We got to the end of the 15 minutes. I'm just trying to see who is likely to improve. Setiawan Santoso could still improve. He's banged through his fastest first sector time. In car 91, David Punn, let's see if he can finish this lap. He's 1.8 seconds down, he's 6th overall. I think he could yet pick up a place or two. It's really pretty close. He may pick off Jeffrey Ibrahim, the older of the 2 princes from Johor. Great colour, don't you think? The Elf Bar livery on that Audi. Up to turn 15, the final corner of the lap. And the car still going for it out on the circuit is Setiawan Santoso, who's about half a length of that back straight behind him. So coming down to take the checkered flag. Let's see, is there an improvement from the number 91 Audi? And the answer to that question is yes, there is. He gains 1/10 of a second, but doesn't quite move up to 5th place overall. Good shot there, but didn't quite pay off. And the number 8 Porsche, those Setiawan Santoso, improved last time around. Is this quicker still? Oh, very close to his best, but no, he stays in 4th place overall. So, job very well done by the new team on the block, YOKOMIZO Racing, with their Ferrari. They take Q1. Will have a 7-minute turnaround, and their teammates will get into the car that will already be pretty warm underneath them. They'll go out for their 15 minutes of qualifying, but for YOKOMIZO that was a fantastic run. Got it right with his first lap, set another flying lap that nobody else got too close to, and Adrian De Silva at the end did topple that, just to be 0.182 of a second down. So it's Ferrari from Porsche, from Mercedes from Porsche, Mercedes, Audi, and Porsche. And at subsequent rounds we will have many other manufacturers as well. We'll have McLarens, BMWs, Hondas, Lamborghinis, Aston Martins et al. But first qualifying session of the 22 Fanatec GT action here in Asia goes to Ferrari and the all Japanese crew. Well, for the first part of that, Naoki YOKOMIZO with a lap time of 2 minutes 7.686 seconds, and good to see EBM Giga Racing on home ground in so many ways, with a home driver, Adrian De Silva, pushing so hard to be down by just 0.182 of a second. So a really good push, and then almost a whole second back in 3rd place is the 888 Mercedes with Prince Abu Bakr Ibrahim, who's clearly got to grip with GT3 cars very quickly indeed. And as you can see in behind them, the second of the EBM Giga Porsches, the second of the 888 Race Engineering Mercedes, the 2X Works Audis are really very close indeed. But bragging rights for now go to YOKOMIZO Racing. Can they make it a double in qualifying session number 2? Well, that's coming up very shortly indeed. Quick turnaround, fantastic dark blue and silver livery on the JMR Mercedes down there. You always go down to try and have a look at them in the pit lane and just gauge what's the difference. Does it have a red flash on the rear wing to differentiate one from the other? Well, they don't, in fact. But of the 2 EBM Porsches, at least they help by their number 8 entry. They're the one shared by Setiawan Santoso, who is 4th fastest in that session, and Reid Harker. That has a red strip along the top of its rear wing, just to give commentators and fans alike a bit of a guidance when the cars are heading down towards any viewer down the main straight or any vantage point around the circuit. So good to see some protection for some of the marshals out around the circuit and plenty of space to play. This fabulous 15-turn circuit just by Kuala Lumpur International Airport. And it's great having come here for really quite a long time now just to see how the trees around the circuit have grown up. It really, really has matured into a very, very attractive place to come racing, and no wonder it is so popular. So 15 minutes of qualifying behind us, 15 minutes to come. And it's Ferrari, top of the pile. Porsche challenges, but of course, let's run through the drivers who you will have in the second session. Reid Harker will take over the number 8 Porsche. Earl Bamber, Le Mans winner, will take over the number 11 Porsche, both from his EBM Giga Racing team. Sandy Stuvik, very talented Thai racer, will take over the number 22 car that Sam Shahin used to qualify 7th fastest. Shogo Mitsuyama will come into the mix in the car that took pole in the hands of Naoki YOKOMIZO, but no disrespect to Shogo Mitsuyama, the star in that car was very much Naoki YOKOMIZO, and he absolutely delivered. Ben Porter, much like his teammate Andrew McPherson, so long racing a Lamborghini, now trying to get used to a Porsche. Sean Thong, always so much fun, in an interview, driver from Hong Kong. He will be taking over the number 91 Elf Bar Racing Team X-Works Audi. Nick Foster, Australian racer, who's showing with Prince Jeffrey Ibrahim, will take over the 99 Mercedes. And Jasmine Jafar, who needs almost no introduction here on home turf in Malaysia, will take over the second of those 888 JMR Mercedes that qualified 3rd fastest in that first qualifying session. So all seems cool and calm. It isn't cool. As we saw before the start of the session, the air temperature was already 30.8 degrees, track temperature 35 degrees. And even in that short time, I do expect, if we saw another graphic, I'm looking to see if there's any evidence anywhere, the track temperature for certain will have gone up another few degrees. But it's only a 15-minute session. It's not so much about controlling the heat in your tyres, unless you're really, really pushing very, very hard indeed. It's about just maybe doing a good, decent banker lap, cool the tyres, then a real flyer, and that might be all you need to do in this session. But as we've seen, get off line, and it's very dusty indeed, so any small mistake will become magnified. And I expect to see the times get a little bit faster. Now let's just take a look. We had some fairly dark clouds in the distance. Right, air temperature's moved up. It has moved up slightly to 30.8 to 31.2. Track temperature has also risen by rather more. It's gone up by 1 and a little bit degrees, so 36.1. That's starting to get pretty warm. But the good news, humidity's come down. I know we're only talking by a few percentage points, from 80%, pretty horrible, to 77. Wind direction, well, it's gusting around, but really no speed at all. It's a fluky wind. So don't expect any weather changes. I would suggest certainly not for this second qualifying session. I'd be really rather surprised if we got a great deal coming in for the race. As we said, race broadcast begins at 3 o'clock. Race will kick off at 3:15. The green flag is waving, but the red and white Porsche are going nowhere. The lights are on, so there is certainly power going on. So Ben Porter's now got his turn, and he's decided he wants to maximise doing all 15 minutes this session, if at all possible. But he's being urged to get on with it, because the Mercedes behind, certainly the body language is, I am coming past, I do not want you in front of me. Okay, track position. There is space. There are certainly, with 8 cars out there, there is plenty of space. No need to fall over another. But Jasmine Jafar, well, he's not the sort of driver who needs to take too long to get heat in the tyres. He will just wind it up as fast as he possibly can, as soon as he can. All those years of experience on the international stage, and he'll be pressing on very hard indeed. So we've got half of the field out, and the other half are waiting to emerge. Ben Porter, as we've seen, David should not be out there in the 91 because he was out in that first session. It should be Sean Thong, so we'll wait for that to be triggered when he next comes past a timing beam. And Sandy Stuvik will be pushing on in the Audi he shares with Yasser Shahin, the Australian racer. So just, it's all about finding a clean flow over the highest point. I think, yeah, it's probably turn 11 is the highest point in the circuit, down to turn 12 and into 13, and then onto that back straight. There is the field going down through 12 into 13 with Ben Porter following, just trying to get the balance. Of course, the balance of a Porsche, very, very different to the balance of the Lamborghini Huracan that he knows so well. When a driver is absolutely on top of their car, in fact, a driver who has competed in this series in the past, I was watching him race at Magny-Cours last week. He was on another plane to all the other drivers, and that's Raffaele Marcello. And you watch him behind the wheel, he just feathers the steering wheel. He's got the car so well balanced, and all the other drivers, even some of the world's greatest GT3 drivers, just don't seem to be able to hold a candle to him at the moment. But it's about smoothness, that really is, and just making the car light on its toes. So, outlap completed for the majority of the field, and now we're just waiting for the drivers to wind themselves up, and the Triple Eight is the one we need to watch to start with, because that should be the first one to put a flying lap on the board. Jasmine Jafar. He's of course sharing with Prince Abu Bakr Ibrahim, who was third fastest in that first qualifying session. And it's a long time ago now. Jasmine won't want to be reminded of this, but it was 2007, so fully 15 years ago, that he won the Asian Formula BMW Championship. And a couple of years later, went over to Britain to compete in Formula 3 over there. Did that in fact for 3 years, and a bit more Formula Renault. Then he stepped up the power band to Formula Renault 3.5. But really, I think not his salvation, but he found his career path by moving into GT3 cars, and has been very, very impressive over the years. So this should be good to see what he can stick on the board. Right, remember the target time, 2 minutes 7.686. It's irrelevant in terms, that's gone away. That's the car that set it, the Ferrari, but a different driver on board now, because the fireworks were performed by Naoki YOKOMIZO, and Shogo MITSUYAMA is the driver at the wheel in this second qualifying session. And of course, the slate has been wiped clean, because we already have the grid for race 1, this afternoon's race. This is to define the grid for tomorrow's race, which will kick off at 12:15. In fact, it won't, it'll start at midday sharp tomorrow, so it should be very similar temperatures to now, so they'll know what they're getting. But actually quite a lot of traffic here and now, because the Ferraris at the back of the queue have been passed by the Triple Eight, so just waiting for Jasmine Jafar to complete the lap, around that final corner, turn 15. He's round it, he's on the the Ferrari. You don't really want to be doing that. You want to keep your car as straight as you can. It's just waiting for times to go on the board. Still no flying laps on the board, because Jasmine Jafar, I thought, where's he gone in the shot? He was behind the Ferrari, but he came into the pits. He's obviously confident enough to come in, use the 15 minutes the full, come in, make an adjustment if you don't feel the car's setup is just right for the current conditions. Of course, they were on track yesterday, but the conditions, even a few degrees up or down, air temperature, but particularly that temperature, can make a car that feels really nailed on just feel not what you want. But Earl Bamber, right, you expect fireworks from him. Car number 11 on his outlap, picking his way around the lap. Car number 11, he's going through turn 6, and then 7 and 8 are such tricky corners. One after that very short straight from turn 6, dab of the nut brakes, nose goes down. Turn 7, and if you get that wonderful flow, little bit of a twit. Turn 8 has to follow in one big parabola. If you can get the car balanced, there is space on the outside if you get it wrong, but Bamber certainly did not get it wrong. Sean Thong has the fastest time on the board, but he won't be sending postcards home with that written on it. 2 minutes 19.8. Well, that's way off the pace set in the first session. But, of course, it's about what they build up onto on their next flyer. Sandy Stuvik, 2 minutes 20.8. So those are times they should be able to dispatch with no problems at all. And in fact, interestingly, that Jasmine Jafar, though he came into the pits at the end of his, what would have been his first fly, he's already 6 seconds faster than they are. Right, 2 minutes 11.008. That's from the number 8 EBM Giga Racing Porsche. But coming up to the final corner of the lap, car number 11, the second, if you will, of those EBM Racing Porsches coming onto the start finish straight. Target time 2 minutes 11.8. I would presume that would be beaten comprehensively, maybe a 2 minutes 8, 2 minutes 5.6. Well, that was faster than yesterday's time. So on pole by the margin of 5.4 seconds. That's the mark of the man. That's the mark of Earl Bamber. Car 91, the Audi being pushed around very nicely indeed by Sean Thong. One of the 2 Audis entered by X-Works. David Pung went out in that first session. Now it's Sean's turn. He's picking up the pace. Yes, the time's starting to come down. Shogo Mitsuyama has put the Ferrari that's on pole for race 1, this afternoon's race. That's on pole for that. His is at the moment good for 2nd position overall. Sean Thong may well topple that. Only really 2 good lap times on the board. One sensational lap time, 2 minutes 5.6 from Earl Bamber. And Shogo Mitsuyama, 2 minutes 8.0. That's been beaten by Sean Thong. There we go, up to 2nd place, the 91 Audi twitching. You can see it being pushed very hard on the braking into turn 1. And Sean from Hong Kong, been a firm supporter of this championship. Good for 2nd at the moment. Are we going to get an improvement from Shogo Mitsuyama? YOKOMIZO did the business to take pole for race 1, but right now Shogo nice and clean, smooth. You've seen both drivers getting the tail of the Ferrari out a little bit, so clearly set up with quite a loose rear end on it, but it's all about finding a flow here at Sepang. 15 turns to do that. We've got all combinations of corners, but now the Ferrari looking a little bit happier on the track. But I suppose there's bad news out there for all of them, because Earl Bamber's going faster and faster. He's got the best time, 2 minutes 5.611 seconds. He's just banged in the fastest first sector of anybody. Not such a good second sector, but in fact only compared to his previous brilliant time through the second of the 3 sectors. He's only down by 300s. I think that's permissible. So is he going to get under 2 minutes 5.5 seconds? He's at 2 minutes 5.611. Shogo Mitsuyama has been moved back to 4th overall because Reid Harker, driver from New Zealand, has gone into 2nd place, 2 minutes 7.166 seconds. What's the Ferrari going to do? Mitsuyama's fallen back to 4th place. He comes across the start-finish line and stays in 4th place. Very close to his best, just a 1/10 of a second down, so good consistency there, but couldn't find those vital seconds. Can he keep the tail in check? At the moment, EBM Giga Racing Porsches, number 11, fastest of all, Earl Bamber. 2nd fastest, 1.5 seconds down, is the sister car, the number 8, so the Porsche's looking very good indeed. Sean Thong could be improving this time around. Didn't do a brilliant middle sector, but may improve his mark. Has to find about a 1/3 of a second, maybe slightly more. 4/10 of a second perhaps, to see if he can topple Sean Thong. In fact, Sean Thong has just toppled his time with that 2 minutes 7.150. It's just very, very close to 2nd place now. 1.575 seconds down on pole and 1.591. But really, there is no answer to the pace of Earl Bamber. He's looking very, very good, very, very consistent. And he's settling down just so nicely as you would a sort of global standard GT Pro. Of course, he's done great things in prototypes as well, but there we go. So Earl Bamber just got this balance he's found here, or the happiness to step away from the balance, just ride it, a bit like a ski racer. You've got to be sort of slightly out of control all the time. Bamber, Thong, Harker, Stuvik, bit of a gap, and then Ferrari back down to 5th place. That's because Stuvik had made his move. He's gone up into 4th place in the number 22 Audi, but it's Porsche in 1st and 2nd. Car 11 with the team boss Earl Bamber himself at the wheel, and looks like it's going to be another consistently good lap. 2 minutes 5.575. Will that be beaten this time around? He's improved, he's improved. Oh, no improvement, but very, very close. Within a 2/10 of a second there of his best. So I think for him, that's probably the session run. 4 minutes on the clock, nobody within 1.25 seconds away from him. Because I tell you why, the gap's come down. I was going to say it's 1.4 because Yazam and Jafar, number 888, suddenly both of the Mercedes 88, 888 and 99, that's Jasmine Jafar and Nick Foster. Hadn't seen too much of Foster. Now they've gone into 2nd and 3rd. So Reid Harker, who a blink of an eye ago was 2nd in the 2nd of the EBM Giga Racing Porsches, has now got 2 Mercedes ahead of him on the grid for tomorrow's race. Ferrari has called it a day, and in fact Mitsuyama's fallen down to 7th place overall. It shows how he didn't improve through the session. He did 2 laps very close to each other, but everyone else has gone past him. And haven't seen too much since the cars pulled out of pit lane of Ben Porter, but he's managed a much better fist of it, getting used to the AMAC Motorsport Porsche. He's just 3/10 down, and whereas teammate Andrew McPherson has a little bit more of a gap back to the ultimate pace in qualifying number 1. So Nick Foster getting used to the, Ben Porter getting used to the Porsche for the first time for AMAC Motorsport, and may yet improve on his very best time so far. Sandy Stuvik in the pits, Shogo Mitsuyama in the pits. The other 6 cars out there pounding round. Earl Bamber super fast, super consistent. But behind him, if Nick Foster, the Australian driver, can find a 1/10 of a second, that will ease him just up into 2nd place ahead of the sister car. But it's the 888, Jasmine Jafar, large on your screen, improving in 1st sector, improving in the 2nd sector. Right, remember this, he's 1.293 seconds down. Reid Harker has gone back into 3rd place overall. He was 2nd, fell to 4th, back to 3rd. But super close. Look at the differences between Jasmine Jafar down by 1.293 seconds on the ultimate pace, and may be able to improve on that, trying to get a bit of a slipstream off the wall, but his best lap is now just 0.8 of a second down. So he got closer and closer. Didn't quite improve on that final sector, but the previous 2, very good indeed. Right, so he's 0.8 of a second down. The next 2, Reid Harker and Nick Foster, are very close indeed, and Sean Thong's not out of the battle either. He's not come into the pits. The slowest 3 cars are in the pits. The other 5 are out on the track. They're fighting, but the clock is counting down. Just 1 minute 40 seconds remain. Reid Harker pressing on. How's his 1st sector? Not so good. Not looking like an improvement this time around. But did he back off, and is he now picking it up, picking up the pace? Car number 8. I'd have to say that Earl Bamber's time, well, it's going to have to be good for him, because he's reported back to the pits. Seems no further purpose. He's 0.8 of a second to the good, but actually that's an awfully big ask for Jasmine Jafar, who may chip away. In fact, his 1st sector hasn't been an improvement. But Reid Harker's time in 3rd place was short-lived, because Nick Foster went back past. And the clock down to just that final minute. Where is the improvement going to come from? It's very hard to see. Harker didn't improve in the 1st sector. That's unfortunate. This will be, where is he on the lap? He's got a little bit of time. No, he's got time to do 1 further flying lap. He's turning into turn 14. He's going to go up the blast all the way up to the final corner, turn 15. He should just about get across the start-finish line to do 1 further flying lap if he should so choose to do. But I think we can safely say he's not going to go faster than Earl Bamber's seemingly effortless looking 2 minutes 5.75 second time. And in fact, the Porsche comes into the pits. So Bamber's in the pits. Teammate Reid Harker just arrives in the pits. That leaves the 2 Mercedes out on the circuit, but they haven't improved in their sector times. They too are coming into the pits. So I think that will conclude the voting, apart from the completion of the lap by Nick Foster. Crosses the start-finish line, and let's see what that does to his time. Just waiting for that time to go on the board. 2 minutes 6.832, so improved. It's very close, but he's still ahead of Harker and Foster. That was a great little battle, the Aussie and the Kiwi, but they stayed 3rd and 4th. So it's a Kiwi on pole position. That's Earl Bamber. It's Jasmine Jafar from Malaysia, shining on home ground to be the best Mercedes driver, but 0.8 of a second. That is a big gap. So that was very impressive from Earl Bamber. But Jasmine Jafar, great to have him back and have him with us through the course of the season. Like a lot of drivers, the last 2 seasons have been a little bit chop and change, but for obvious reasons. But the good thing is GT3 racing is back on the map in Asia, and everybody back in the pits, bar Sean Thong. And Sean ended up 5th overall, but maybe a couple of corners taken slightly more accurately, or getting the balance right, and that could have been a position or 2 higher, but it's very close in that middle back order. 3rd, 4th, 5th, that's Foster, Harker and Thong. And then really not too far back behind them is Sandy Stuvik in 6th overall. So the track falls quiet. So we have the defined poles. For the first race, it'll be the Gibo Racing Ferrari, and that's for the race this afternoon. And for tomorrow's race, it'll be Earl Bamber in the number 11 Porsche. last car enters the pit lane. So, quick fire, 15 minutes apiece, but here is the order for tomorrow's race. That's Earl Bamber on pole for that in one of the two EBM Giga Racing Porsches, and 0.8 of a second to the good, so a big margin over Jasm and Jafar. And then very close indeed between Nick Foster in the second of those Mercedes, Reed Harker in the second of the EBM Giga Racing Porsches, then Sean Thong, best of the Audi drivers, in fifth overall. They're very close indeed. And the second of the X-Works Audis with Sandy Stuvik just behind him in sixth place. Yogibo Racing on pole for the first race. That's this afternoon's race, which will be at 3. Program kicking off at 3 o'clock local time, and the race at 3:15. But seventh for tomorrow's race at lunchtime. And then AMAC Motorsport with their new Porsche, getting to know it, getting to love it, and that is Ben Porter at the wheel. 3 seconds off the pace, but really it was a masterclass from Earl Bamber. I thought they might get down to the low 2-minute 6s, and he put a 2-minute 5.5 just to show the track was coming to him, but his experience and his talent was enough to take pole for tomorrow's race. So, 2 sessions, as far as I see, no spinners. That's good to know around this fabulous circuit. And I suppose often you may get other problems if drivers have been seen exceeding track limits, but I think everyone was pretty much between the white lines. But most certainly Earl Bamber was the one who got it right, and that time, 2 minutes 5.575 seconds, really is the new benchmark. We were last here racing in 2019, April 2019, and here we are 37 months later, and it's good to be back, and the drivers all uniformly love this circuit. The Sepang International Circuit is just such a great place to go racing, and it really is a hallmark of Fanatec GT. Brilliant cars, balanced across the manufacturers, racing all around the world, and no wonder it has grown and grown. We've got 8 cars for this weekend's 2 races. We're promised a few more, but it doesn't matter too much because it's all very good quality at the top, and the numbers are going to treble when the cars go to Japan. So that's it for now. Do come back and join us. The program will kick off at 3 o'clock this afternoon, local time to Kuala Lumpur, and the race will start at 3:15. And if you're a Ferrari fan, it's a Ferrari on pole. That's all from me, Bruce Jones. Goodbye.